Okay, let's break this down. Joining me this morning, law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman and civil rights trial attorney Jim DeSimone. Great to have you both here. So, Jim, yeah, I see this case being separated into two things. Was Chauvin's actions reasonable? Was it objectively reasonable? And also, what was the cause of death? And if we stick with the actions there, like Julie said, prosecution, in order to establish second-degree murder, needs to show that intent to assault, that intent to inflict actual physical harm on George Floyd. In your opinion, based on these different witnesses that have come forward, do you think that this prosecution has clearly established that?
Well, it's always a challenge to get inside a police officer's head, especially if, as many of us suspect, former Officer Chauvin doesn't testify here. But I do think that they establish it when they look at the framework of what it is to be a police officer, that at some point in time when you are dealing with a subject that goes from passive resistance, no aggression, no threats, but passive resistance, to basically being unconscious, that your actions as a police officer then have to change. He is in your care and custody. It has to change from controlling this person because he's controlled. He's passed out. You now have to change your conduct to providing him medical care and essentially saving this man's life. And instead, you have Chauvin who doubles down, keeps the knee on the neck, even after everyone's telling him you're killing this man. And that can go to show the intent to at least engage in the action that caused the bodily harm. And those jury instructions are still a question as to how exactly the jury is going to be instructed on that second-degree felony charge.
And it's going to be very interesting what we've seen from the defense in terms of cross-examining these witnesses. But let's just continue on a little bit more with Agent James Ryerson from yesterday in case you missed his testimony. Now, Jim, I'll play devil's advocate here because the other way to look at it is, yeah, Julie's right, that if he even said that I ate too many drugs, then maybe they had a duty to provide him the kind of care with somebody who has a drug overdose. Now, here's the reason why it could be important. Remember, we're trying to understand the cause of death, and one of the things George Floyd said on the ground was, my stomach hurts, everything hurts. So is that attributed to the officers holding him down, or is that attributed to the drugs? So if you say, okay, he said I ate too many drugs, now he's saying his stomach hurts, now the jury could be believing, well, really, what's causing the pain and maybe what caused the ultimate death was drugs. What do you think, Jim?
Well, first of all, really what you have to look at is what was the level of drugs found in his system? And we know that, and that testimony will come out. So whatever he said here doesn't appear to be relevant. But I think what Chauvin's attorney, Eric Nelson, was trying to suggest here was that everyone missed it. Look, you guys watch these tapes over and over again. You missed that. So how were the officers on the scene going to hear that he said that he ate too many drugs, if indeed that's what he said? I tend to agree with Julie. Probably didn't say that. He wasn't admitting that he was eating drugs at that particular in that particular instance or during this encounter. But it is interesting too because okay, they want to credit that, but he also said I can't breathe. What, over 20 times? So we're not going to. The police officers are just ignoring that. That's what created that duty here to care because his emotional congruency was he's saying he can't breathe. And then, in fact, he stopped breathing. So you have to take it into consideration, credit this man, and save his life. Don't kill him.
That's a really, really good point. And we heard Nelson yesterday trying to get some of these witnesses to suggest that, don't you deal with suspects who are lying? Can you believe what they're saying? And trying to say, should they have really believed when he said he couldn't breathe if they thought he was on drugs? That's where the defense is going. We are going to talk more about the arguments in this case. Waiting to jump live in court today. Stay with us here on Law and Crime. We'll be right back.